Good morning and welcome to Reset 2020. It's great to have you here with us today from wherever you might be dialing in from today and joining us. We're here, well, I'm here in sunny Melbourne, and we've got guests here today from Melbourne and Tasmania. So great to have you here. This is our fourth live show. My name is Julia Keady and I am the host of your show today. I'm also the founder and the CEO of the X Factor Collective. For those of you who haven't come across the X Factor Collective before Reset 2020, we're a national organisation. We have a very big mission to help reduce burnout in social change makers. One of the ways that we help to do that is help organisations and change makers get access to support and advice from really experienced and pre-vetted subject matter specialists. Reset 2020 is part of our programming area, and in our programming area we're able to bring to life the many amazing subject matter specialists that we have in the collective. It's great to have you here as part of Reset 2020, and thank you for contributing to the Reset 2020 research study as well. We're closing that in the next couple of days, and if you haven't had a chance to participate, we'll send you a link over the next couple of days to have your say. That's going to help inform the programming that we can do with you and for you over the next 6 months. The program has been a great partnership with Equity Trustees, and we're very grateful to them coming on board to help make this possible, and also free for as many organisations to access as possible. So before we get started today, and before I introduce you to your wonderful subject matter specialists, and also the wonderful Belinda Collins from Swinburne is here today with us as well, just a couple of housekeeping notes. So the first thing is, we are here to answer your questions today, and we'd love you to pop your questions into the Q&A box. No doubt many of you are now very familiar with Zoom as a platform, and you'll see down the bottom there a Q&A box that you can click on and ask your questions at any time throughout the next 60 to 90 minutes. That's what we'd really like to help you with today, any of your burning questions. The second thing is, you'll see the chat box there over the side, and a shout out to Jackie, who's in our tech support team there on our chat box. There's some phone links there for you, so you might want to just grab those, take a screenshot of that now, just in case your internet link drops out, and you can dial back in and listen to the rest of the show. If you need to head off or something does happen with your internet link, do not stress. We are recording today's session and we'll make that all available to you on playback as well. We're also sharing the recordings of the case studies with our partners at Pro Bono Australia. And if you get Pro Bono Australia this morning in your inbox, you would have received a notice to an interview that we had with Beyond Blue on Tuesday, which was a fantastic interview all about partnerships, and some great tips there if partnerships are on your mind at the moment. So let's get into it. And I'm just going to have a quick look over here and say good morning to people as they're coming in. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Feel free to jump in the chat box there and let us know who you are, where you're from, what's the cause that you're passionate about, what's the work that you do, and please jump in and feel free to share that with us as we get started. So let me introduce you to some of our lovely specialists here today, and I'm going to let you see them here now. Good morning, Teisha. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, and welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure.
Great. So I'm going to just give you a little bit of biography information about each of our specialists. That might help you understand a little bit more of the depth of experience that they bring. Over 50 years of experience in fundraising and philanthropy here for you today, as well as all of the experience that Belinda Collins is going to be bringing with us today. Quite a lot of experience. So any questions that you have across any of these areas, feel free to jump in and ask them from us today. So I'm going to introduce Kim. Kim, if you want to give us a wave. Kim has over 30 years experience in fundraising and philanthropy, a recognised and accomplished senior fundraising strategist with primarily experience across education, religion, arts and the healthcare industries. Kim's expertise include major gifts, capital campaigns, annual campaigns, prospect research, trust and foundation relationships and proposals, event management, donor protocols, donor recognition, donor segmentation, public relations, public marketing and publications, alumni programs, this is quite the list, Kim, staff recruitment, volunteer and board training and development. So you might have picked up some words there that you think, yeah, actually I've got some questions around that as well. Kim is committed to organisational capacity building and strengthening the culture of philanthropy. She has a history of presenting at Educate Plus, Philanthropy Australia and CASE conferences. And Kim serves on the board of 3 not-for-profits and is a member of the Melbourne Women's Network Giving Circle. Welcome, Kim. Great to have you here. And Teisha Archer, this is quite funny. Teisha says in her bio that, like many fundraisers, she fell into the sector trying to escape marketing. So some of you might resonate with that. Teisha's highly skilled, confident and dedicated leader in philanthropy. Teisha's passion for philanthropy aligns with her belief that everybody deserves to feel connected to their community and a part of something bigger than themselves. This belief has led Teisha to work specifically in philanthropy and fundraising at tertiary, social impact and health institutions in management and leadership positions, and more recently as the director of Teisha Archer Consulting, where she provides strategic fundraising coaching and services to the social impact sector. Teisha's experience has seen her lead highly productive and successful teams, raising in excess of $10 million annually at institutes in both Tasmania and Victoria, as well as consulting for very successful for-purpose national organisations. Teisha is a frequent contributor to many sector publications and is also a director of the wonderful Brave Foundation, who will be joining us on the show next week, and has held several other board and committee positions. Teisha, great to have you here as well from sunny Tasmania there today.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. We're going to jump into a few questions that you've sent in to us with Teisha and Kim now, and then in a little while we're going to invite Belinda Collins from Swinburne on to talk about some of the success that Swinburne has had. Some great takeaways there today, and also Belinda has prepared a couple of slides to show you some of the results from their campaign over the last 8 weeks, which really goes to show what is actually happening for organisations that are leaning in their fundraising at this time. So some really inspiring results there to share with you. Before we jump into that, we are doing a live poll at each of our live broadcasts, and this is to actually help understand what some of your challenges and pain points might be at this time. You should see that pop up on your screen now if you're here with us live. You can actually see we've prepared a few different areas there that you might want to just have a look over and tell us what's your biggest challenge right now. You can choose one or more of these answers. So feel free to jump in there and share with us these issues for you. We can then take that forward into our programming and see if we can help put together some programming to help address those issues as well. So people are often racing, filling that out. That's great. Thank you very much. And we've got some questions starting to come in as well on the Q&A box. Good morning, Kirsty, and thank you for your questions. Feel free to jump in and don't be shy. All right, to kick things off, I'm going to invite Kim and Teisha to both just give us a brief snapshot. You're both talking with organisations all the time. You're out there with your finger on the pulse. What are you seeing across the landscape at the moment?
Well, wow, I'm not sure that the landscape could change any quicker if it tried right now. I bet, like me, many of those watching today and on recordings later will be on weekly, if not daily, webinars and surveys and everything else trying to understand what might come next. But what I'm seeing right now is that across the board, unfortunately, giving seems to be down. The organisations I'm talking to and that I follow closely are seeing anything from a 20% to a 50% decrease fairly immediately from this pandemic. And what I've learned in my research has been that following or during past recessions and or disasters, that we can expect that trend to continue while we're still dealing with COVID-19 and dealing with this uncertainty. In fact, what we should be doing now as well is making sure that we're focused on engaging with people and continuing to fundraise, because that same research shows that if you are doing that now, that you'll also be one of the organisations that bounces back quickly afterwards.
Mm.
Kim, did you want to add to that?
Completely agree with you, Tish. The success of any organization right now is going to be in their stewardship. So post COVID-19, the better stewardship that you've done during this period, the more success that you're going to have. However, in times of crisis and tragedy and economic downturn, giving actually always goes up. And right now, I think organizations, what I'm seeing, they're either proceeding with their fundraising or they're completely stopping. And the organizations that are proceeding, all they're doing is changing their wording a little bit, sticking to their mission, and instead of saying, you know, here's our needs, it's here's what's happening if you can still help. So it's just changing the wording a little bit. I don't know why we have to look at fundraising as a negative. In times like this, and especially with COVID-19, where we are literally all in this together, people understand that there are needs in the community, and to fulfill people's sense of what can I do, asking them to contribute to something actually gives them a purpose. So I would hope in the organizations that I'm seeing stopping their fundraising that they really rethink that.
That's a really lovely point, Kim, that you make there. Picking up on what you say about some organisations are continuing and some are stopping, we're seeing that some organisations are having their budgets cut by their board and expected to do the same or indeed more with less resourcing. Can you both give us your perspective on and some advice for both people that are in fundraising roles, but also recognising executive officers of small organisations who are also doing fundraising as part of their role?
Absolutely. It never ceases to amaze me that the first budgets to be cut in any crisis are marketing and fundraising, always. Yet those are the two areas that support the programs and support the organizations. So I think it's really important that boards remain focused on their long-term goals and realize that they have to stay connected to their community. And I would encourage those of us in the fundraising area to not only be stewarding our donors, but to give our boards and our foundation committees or however our structures are, some responsibility for that, so that they understand what donors are thinking, what they're feeling, time for them to listen and be a little bit more donor-centric, and give them some of the responsibilities so that they're involved and they understand, oh, maybe we can't afford to cut this budget.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I tend to agree. Budget cuts are certainly an issue with quite a few of the organisations that I've been speaking with, whether it's a direct cut to fundraising activities, such as we can't do that event, therefore we're cutting that budget and you can't reallocate it to some other activity, or even worse, to salaries, where I've had examples where contracts are ending and they're not going to be renewed, or positions are vacant and they're not going to be filled. And what this means is that too many fundraisers are being asked to do unrealistic amounts of work with very little resources, and which will be highly detrimental in the long run. So my advice, if you have your budget cut, is firstly to politely but loudly remind your executive and board about the wonderful return on investment that fundraising offers to your organisation, not just in the financial aspect, but engagement with your client base. Secondly, I think organisations should make an assessment of where their programs have the best return on investment and direct what limited resources they have to those activities. With a limited budget, you won't be able to do anything, so you need to pick your winners. And in doing this, understand the skill set of the team you have available to you, so your fundraising team, but also your board and executive. If they've got skills to grant write, then by all means have them out there trying to attract the support of trusts and foundations. If they're great on a virtual conference, then why not have them talking to your donors? Next, consider what low-cost activities you can be undertaking. So I've worked with organisations recently that have had, instead of meetings and morning teas with their scholarship donors and recipients, they've had the students make thank you videos at home to send to the donors. It's a simple, quick and easy way of engaging people. And don't forget that no matter what, engagement is key. If you can't ask or your donors have stopped giving, or giving at a lower level, they still believe in you and they still love you, and they'll still direct resources to you if you keep them engaged. So engagement is key to asking in the future. Now, I saw this morning Philanthropy Australia had undertaken research recently that outlined giving and where it was heading very briefly. But it gave an example that trusts and foundations are really stepping up during this time. They have to fund a certain amount every year anyway, so they're going to keep continuing to do that. The government are now offering incentives for them to continue to do that. But the Philanthropy Australia research showed that 2/3 of them are trying to be more flexible, and almost half of them are untying restricted funds. And in addition to this, 1/3 of the philanthropists that participated in the survey also responded that they'll keep increasing their giving during this period. Oh, thanks, Julia, for bringing that up on the screen. So, you know, this is really exciting for fundraising during this period where people have concerns and their budgets are being cut. You know, when all else fails, you can always take some time now to do those things that we all put off, or we complain that we don't have time to do any other period. And we know in fundraising, we're always running out of time. So clean up your database, take another look at that strategy and refresh your messaging for a COVID-19 environment. Undertake that prospect research that you meant to do. Write those engagement briefings for when you're ready to fundraise. There's so many things we can be doing right now, even with small or cut budgets, to progress our fundraising and engage our donors.
Great, thanks, Teisha. And just, we've put that link there. It's just fresh out from Philanthropy Australia today, who have been one of our fabulous outreach partners for Reset 2020 as well. I'm just going to bring that up so everyone can actually see that there's actually not only just the press release there from a couple of hours ago, but you can actually also click on that button there, the full survey results. And they've got a 15-page presentation there with all of the findings from about 100 trusts and foundations that they've spoken to over the last couple of weeks. And there's actually some surprising results in there, indeed. And possibly, do you think, Kim and Teisha, these are the types of documents and those sorts of stats to be able to show executive teams and boards actually what's really going on based on data?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It gives organizations encouragement because trusts and foundations are even having to find, if we use that word pivot, which everyone is using right now, to look at where their funding is going and how else they can help, with the government encouraging them to give more right now, to really look at the community, because on the other side of this, we all want all the community organizations to still be there, because without them, the government might have to pick up those services. So, you know, it's really important. And I had an experience just last week with a major donor for one of my clients who I had rung as part of a stewardship exercise, and just to check in on him. And he said, you know, I'm really glad you rang. And this was for a girls' school. And he said, I have grandchildren at that school and at a boys' school. He said, with the boys' school, tickety tick. You know, I don't have to call them. Everything just happens. He said, with the girls' school, I need to call and I need to make the effort. So he said, I'm really pleased that you've rung, and I'd like to make a major contribution before the end of the financial year for a building project. I talked that through with him and said, well, you know what, we really don't have any building projects for another 18 months. He said, no, that's okay. I still want to give to that. And I said, but because of what's happening right now, here's what we're doing. And he said, oh, you know what? I would have never considered that. And I completely understand that. And yes, I will look at that, send me the information. Well, just before the webinar today, I had a message on my phone from him saying, got the information, love it. Please ring me and tell me how to make the donation. So I think if we're open and honest with our donors, and we tell them what it is as an organization we're dealing with right now, and the cuts we're looking at, and how we want to come out the other side of this, and what we want to, you know, what we want to continue doing. It's to stay focused on that, on our mission. And our donors already love us because of that. So it's just being open and honest and listening to them as well.
Fantastic. That's a beautiful example and very encouraging, I'm sure, for everyone that's listening to this here with us today. We've got some great questions that are coming in there as well. Thank you very much for everyone popping those in there. One of the questions that Juliana has raised is what we're going to touch on now before we bring in Belinda Collins, who's sitting in the background listening to this, is around strategy and around fundraising strategies. So Juliana has actually said in her question, what key points do you think charities should consider when rethinking the fundraising strategy? We're going to touch on this point now before we speak with Belinda, and it's something that's come through from the research as well, is the relevance of existing fundraising plans in this time. Would you both be able to speak to that around fundraising plans and the rethinking of strategy? What's your advice in this area at the moment?
As you mentioned earlier, Julia, I'm on the board of an amazing organisation, Brave Foundation, and Bernie Black, the very inspirational founder and CEO, was told as a pregnant teenager by her school teacher, the journey may be different, but the destination can be the same. And right now, that resonates with me so much in this environment. What I'm saying is your current strategy does not necessarily need to be rewritten. It just might need to be adjusted. The journey's going to be a little bit different than what we planned. It might take a little longer. It might be, in a lot of ways, it could be grander. Who knows? But things to consider would be, how do you adjust your messaging to acknowledge COVID-19 and the challenges surrounding it, but also highlight your cause? For health organisations, it's maybe a little bit easier. Those that are directly addressing the health implications of COVID-19, creating vaccines, treating the sick, these sorts of things, they can go out with a message right now, support right now and save lives. For organisations that are indirectly affected by COVID, such as domestic violence organisations, relevance is key. So they might have messaging more along the lines of support us because never before have we need like we do right now. And for organisations that are unrelated, it might be like an environmental organisation, for example. They can adapt their messaging to be support us now for the future. So, COVID-19 is here and it's here for however long, but it will become something else. There'll be something else later and things will move on. And we do have to look beyond that as well. We can't stop what we're doing. And as I said earlier, people still love you and they still will want to support what you do. Of course, you'll also need to consider your fundraising systems and methodology. It's a good time to be making sure that your staff are adept in different ways of doing business. And that might mean training in making an ask virtually or hosting a program such as this. And it could be anything like that. A lot of organisations are taking what they do really well, like I said earlier, taking their primary skills and changing them. And an example of that is Vinnie's. I have a great friend who is doing the CEO Sleep Out this year. Now, Vinnie's raised almost $8 million every year with this wonderful event that engages high net worth individuals and uses peer-to-peer fundraising very successfully. Now, my friend is going to be sleeping on her balcony on several floors up in Canberra. Oh, in June. Oh my goodness, it should be frozen. And they're using this. They've got a great campaign going on social media. They've adapted. They've said this doesn't need to stop. We do it really well. We don't need to change our strategy. We just need to tweak how we implement it. And that shows that, yes, in some cases, a rewrite might be necessary. I suspect in those cases, it's probably that your strategy was not quite up to date enough regardless.
Great, thanks. And Kim?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this is the time to review and look at our planning and what we've done. I suppose I'd be asking you as an organization to ask yourself, can you afford not to fundraise? And if the answer is no, which it should be no, you just need to shift your technique and have donors feel a part of the organization. That Vinnie's example is fantastic, Teisha. fundraisers need to be equipped to have a successful program, and a successful program is donor acquisition and retention and stewardship. Now, maybe, just maybe right now, we have to back off a little bit on donor acquisition, but you can really do a lot in the retention and the stewardship. Your case needs to be built around that why statement. So maybe in looking at your strategy, it's to go back to, why do we exist as an organization? What are we trying to do? So let's look at our messaging. And so, yeah, I just reiterate everything that Teisha said, but yeah.
Great, fantastic. Thank you. Juliana, hopefully that's helping to answer your question there around the things that you could think about with your fundraising strategy. Drop us a note in the chat box if that's helping. I'm sure the rest of the content that we have coming as well is really going to be supportive to these questions that we have here today. Colleen, I'm just acknowledging your question there around your annual campaign, and that you've got here that you work in a religious organisation. Your parishes are closed at present, and the board has decided to dull down the annual campaign. So she's asking, is this a bad idea, and how can we still ask at this time? We're actually talking exactly about annual campaigns and end of financial year campaigns, which are on people's mind at the moment, shortly after we've had this conversation with Belinda. But stay with us, because some of the work that Swinburne have just done, there's some great aspects to this campaign that you'll be able to pull from for some of the programs and campaigns that you're doing over the next couple of months. So just on that, if you haven't actually participated yet in our live poll that's running, and sorry for those who cannot see it on the side there, we're not sure why you can't actually see it, but we've got a good response rate coming in there at the moment. I'll tell you what I can see at the moment is most of you are saying our donors are wanting to focus on other causes as the main challenge right now. So that's interesting, and maybe something that we can pick up in the rest of our time together here, and with Belinda as well. Belinda, you're listening in the background there. The other thing that's coming through at the moment is we feel afraid to contact donors in case they feel pressured or insulted. So indeed, as we're talking, we can pick up on these themes for you, just to give you some takeaways. What's coming in next? We're not sure what funders want from us. Okay, great. So we can actually, as we're talking today with you, share some insights there. So thank you for everyone that's asking questions. Martin, I'm acknowledging your questions, and Kirsty as well. We'll jump onto those. Feel free to jump in and ask your questions so we can get onto those in the next hour. Next, I'm going to invite on a wonderful woman who I've had the privilege of knowing for many, many years, and great to have Belinda Collins here joining us today. So I'm just going to bring Belinda in. If anyone's using Zoom at the moment, that understand, I just need to go off to the side here and activate that. So let's go and find Belinda. Where are you, gorgeous? There you are. Off we go. Hopefully Belinda's going to pop up on the screen like a magic trick. There she is. Hey, Belinda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you to, I think this is such a terrific initiative of X Factor Collective and also Equity Trustees. So thanks for the opportunity.
Great. Fantastic to have you here. We've got an exciting half an hour together to hear all about the ways that you have leaned right in on fundraising over the last 8 weeks. We're going to cut this next segment as its own little case study interview. So for those who are here live with us now, I'm just going to do another intro so our editor after this can just cut straight at this point. Welcome to Reset 2020. You're here live with us talking about everything to do with donor and funder relations. We have 2 subject matter specialists here today with us. Kim Downs in the top left, give us a wave, Kim. Teisha Archer in the bottom left there, and our wonderful interview case study talent here, Belinda Collins, the Director of Development at Swinburne University. This program is made possible and free thanks to our partners at Equity Trustees. Delighted to have you here today, Belinda. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for the opportunity, Julia, and Equity Trustees.
Well, it's been quite a journey for you, not only, if you don't mind me saying, being a mother of a number of children, running a team, and dealing with COVID-19 on a personal and professional front. Can you jump in for us on this journey that you've had the last 2 months? Don't worry about the homeschooling part, but many organisations have told us, you know, how afraid they've felt, how stuck and how frozen they have felt during this time. Can you take us back to, say, 8-10 weeks ago, and what happened when COVID-19 hit for Swinburne?
Yeah, I was reflecting on that and thinking back to January when we all believed that the bushfires would be the defining issue of our year, and that just seems such a long time ago, and we cannot forget those bushfire affected communities. But being a university, because we are full of people from all walks of life, our students, our researchers, our staff, it became obvious to us quite quickly that this was going to be something major that would affect us when we started to realise our students, particularly from China in the first instance, weren't able to get back to Australia. And as we realised this would be something that would affect all of our students, the university swung into action in support of the students, and that's a very Swinburne thing to do, I must say.
Great. And what happened specifically in the fundraising area for it to become, if you don't mind me saying, such a success story over the last couple of months?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that we got everybody on board with the university, and it's been really heartening to hear Kim and Teisha talking about purpose. And so for us, it was really reflecting on why do we exist? And we exist to educate the next generation of young people coming through. And when you go to your purpose and you understand that your beneficiaries, or the reason you exist, is having a difficult time, then you have a responsibility to push forward, no matter how uncomfortable or how daunting that might be. And so that's where we found ourselves. Very quickly, we were able to reach out to a lot of donors and explain just where the position that we're in right now. Again, it was terrific. Excuse the aeroplane flying past, but terrific to hear conversation this morning about purpose and beneficiaries and the reason that we all exist. And reflecting on that, it was critical for us to do something in support of our students.
Thank you, Belinda. And I just have to acknowledge that unusual sound in the background of an aeroplane, which
aeroplane going by.
It's like such a long time ago that we have heard that sound. Quite unusual. Thank you for sharing that. Can you tell us, you say everyone swung into action and you came back to purpose. As the Director of Development, a lot of that would be you coordinating, the effort and the thinking and the planning all around what was going to happen with the fundraising area. How did you get such strong internal support at the time? What were the sorts of things that you were doing?
Yeah, I think that any of us who hold roles in organisations are custodians at a particular point in time. So I need to acknowledge the people who've occupied this role before me, including Michelle McGregor-Owen, who was here before I began, and my predecessors have been terrific at building a culture of philanthropy across the organisation, where it's understood that fundraising isn't something that the development team just goes and does, but it's something that needs to be right through the organisation. So that was number one. And then number two was really just about going back to that thing of understanding the position that our students find themselves in and understanding that we have an absolute responsibility to look out for them. So very quickly we were able to get agreement for a whole lot of things to happen. And Julia, you might have that first slide there that I'm happy to go through. But very quickly we were able to get support. Here we are, that's the last one. Back. There we are. So that said, I'll just talk through that a little for you, but every segment of our community has been involved. So we did some research, and it's great to hear, great to hear the research coming out today from Philanthropy Australia. We, at the time, looked at the stuff that the work that JB Weir did and understood that it's time to really lean into philanthropy. And at my age, I've lived through more than one financial crisis now, although none are quite this big. And so we understand the way that we need to behave and respond during a financial crisis. So we start at the very top of our organisation. Our council members are contributing honorariums. And I hope that there's some bits and pieces in here that you will find relevant for the organisations that you represent, understanding that many of you will have council members that don't receive a salary, but I think it's still appropriate to ask them for some sort of a contribution. Our executive team accepted pay cuts, and 10% of that's going into the Student Emergency Fund. We secured agreement to reach out to our staff to seek donations, and I'll talk you through the results of that next. We agreed that the mid-year tax appeal would focus on our Student Emergency Fund instead of other areas. And we've been making calls to our major donors, and to the point that Kim was making before, number one to us is around checking in with people. It's about making sure our donors are okay, and understanding the positions that they might find them in. And to that point around belonging and connection and purpose in life for each of us, that's been the key driver for us, is really strengthening those relationships with donors who have either been with us for a short or a long period of time. And if they are able to provide some support, that's really secondary. But for us, looking after those relationships and the language we've heard this morning around stewardship is key. But it's treating people as people and just making sure they're okay. We have approaches out to philanthropic trusts and foundations, and in talking through how Swinburne has all got behind this initiative, our finance team has through the procurement area been reaching out to our suppliers. Industry partners have been contacted. Nobody is being left out of this appeal. We also had some historic funds that the Pratt Foundation and the Beckton Family Foundation had given to support students in crisis many years ago, and they were given as endowment funds, but we reached out to the donors and explained the heightened sense of urgency right now, and sought permission for those funds to be reallocated to the Student Emergency Fund, and both were in great agreement. And it's been a terrific way of re-engaging and maintaining connection, and giving those foundations an opportunity to contribute without actually having to ask them for new money right now. The other thing that's been really terrific is that we made an early decision to erect an honour board, because this is an historic time for all of us. We will all look back and remember the time we were locked in our homes for this period. And so for us, and to show the students the support that's been offered to them, we decided to put up an honour board that really acknowledges the contributions that everyone has made. And that's actually been a great motivator for people to donate, for us to be able to reach out and say, look, there will be an honour board, and it's not complete without your name on it. We've been as bold as that to some people. We really want to make sure that you're there, that you're seen as being a part of our community and walking with us at this point in time. And that's actually been a terrific motivator for people as well. So the bottom point there on that slide just says it's fundraising 101, but it's much easier to fundraise when you can say that all of your stakeholders are contributing, and that we hope that our supporters can come alongside us to match what the institution is doing already. And I think all of my team have given, and I've certainly given to that appeal.
Fantastic, excellent. So that's been the big focus on the student campaign. That's been the sole focus of your fundraising, Belinda?
There's still other work happening. The world doesn't stop. So it's about 50% of our focus right now, but we're still continuing conversations with other donors about critical areas that they have been interested in supporting all the way along. And the question came up before, I don't know what my funders want right now. Just ask them. And I think that sometimes we get so nervous about a power imbalance in philanthropy, and it's very easy to be daunted and intimidated by our donors and think that they hold the power because they have the money. I think that particularly a crisis like COVID-19, which is such a great equaliser, we're all in this together. We're all locked in our homes. We all have the same level of fear. We're all trying to care for family and friends at a distance. It is a great equaliser. And so I would really encourage anyone who's feeling a bit daunted right now, or who doesn't know what their funders want, to reach out and just treat these as people, and understand that we have power too, and then what we're able to bring to our donors is belonging, is connection, is meaning. They're passionate about our causes. They're committed to what we do, as well as working on the fundraising side. I consider myself a philanthropist as well, albeit I don't have unlimited resources to be able to give right now. But the causes I'm passionate about around Indigenous literacy and Burnet Institute for Medical Research, I do find myself sitting and wondering just how they're coping at this point in time. So we're offering...
Oh, sorry, darling, you go.
We offer connection, we offer belonging, we offer meaning. So flip that sense of power imbalance in our heads and reach out and connect and ask and talk to people.
Beautiful, beautiful advice there. I'm loving the little birds that you've got there in your courtyard as well. They're lovely. We're going to jump into a slide, and thank you for preparing these for us as well for today, Belinda. I know how busy you've been, that looks at some of the results. We're going to share that with you in a second. But Kim, at this point, I was wondering if you might be able to reflect on, I guess, while there's been other activities going on, there has been this focal point and this quick and urgent response about the students. Can you reflect on that in terms of how would that be working well in the mindset of donors and the broader funding community?
Well, I think it's fantastic. I think it's fantastic, Belinda, that you've taken this crisis and gone, okay, who is this affecting at Swinburne? It's affecting your students. So you've built your campaign and your messaging around that. So absolutely perfect. And what you said about the whole organization getting involved and being behind it, that's essential. It's essential for any fundraising campaign to be successful. And reaching out to donors and asking how they are, I would hope that every organization during this time is at least doing that with their bequest prospects. You know, and checking in, saying, I'm just calling to see how you are. Do you need anything? Because that's just showing compassion and building that sense of community. So that's absolutely perfect. What you've done is just, yeah, you can't add to it. It's great. Well done.
Great. Thanks, Kim. Well, Belinda, let's jump into a page here that you've got some lovely stats to show us in terms of the results. And this might actually help as well. I noticed there were some questions around donor acquisition and reaching out to new donors at this time. So you'll be pleased to see some of the results around engaging with new donors. So do you want to talk us through this page here, Belinda?
I do. I thought that some of the sort of data might be helpful because I know lots of us are trying to make the case for continuing the work that we're doing. But we were set a target of $2 million, and we are $2 million, you know, is about what we raise each year. And so when we were given a target of $2 million for this appeal, I was you know, more than hesitant. But we're $850,000 into that within 4 weeks. And that's at a time that a lot of people are very, very nervous about asking for money. Through the appeals out to staff, 102 staff donated $34,000, which is a lot of money. And it needs to be said too that now staff at Swinburne we're all taking what's called contribution leave. So we're all reducing our salaries by 10% to reduce the operating cost of the business. But still, 102 staff donated $34,000. We have 315 people have donated outside of staff, and interestingly they've made 341 gifts, which shows that some people are giving more than once, which is really, really heartening. We have 158 new donors through this period, and they've donated $80,000. The donations have come from 18 different countries. Obviously the overwhelming majority have come from Australia, but 18 countries across the world where we find our alumni, donations are coming in. Interestingly, the age profile is slightly younger than it might otherwise be, and we've seen our young alumni dipping in and being involved at this time as well. In the direct mail appeal, the average gift is up, and unfortunately I didn't bring along a stat on that, but the average levels of giving are up as well as the donor acquisition. But for me, the biggest impact is really the intangible thing of building a community of donors who are with us for the future. We've leaned in, we've connected, we've chatted, we've follow-upped, we've thanked, and we've thanked. And that's been really, really lovely. Just that element of human connection, of advising where we're up to, of letting people know about the predicament of our students. We're also stuck at the moment in terms of being mindful of the impact for our own family, our own community, our own business, and our own own financial position, perhaps for some, that we often aren't able to reach out and think, how is this affecting others? But when we take the time to stop and explain what it means for our students or for our particular organisation, our donors are engaged and surprised, and while they might not give in the largest way ever, they will give in whatever way they are able to support you. I think I reflect back to previous financial crises when donors have said, why is it that when I don't have a lot of money, people stop talking to me? Is the relationship not important? Because when my fortunes are good again, everyone's back in touch. So for us, just keeping that, Kim used the language around donor retention, just keeping in touch with our donors is just as important as the money at this point in time.
Just on the point that's coming through on a live poll, that how people are feeling afraid to contact donors in case they feel pressured or insulted. This is exactly to the point that you're making here now. Can you just speak a little bit to that? Have you, and maybe the three of you, have you actually ever had a donor say that they're feeling pressured by you following up at this time, or feeling insulted in this way? It's definitely a third of the people who are here with us today are actually feeling that. So can we just talk a little bit more on that in terms of your experiences, just to help people with this one today?
Yeah, we haven't faced that a lot. I think because the approach has been very, very gentle, and it's putting people and it's putting donors first. But if they are saying to us, look, I'm just not in a position to be able to do that right now, then we are completely understanding. I think for all of us in careers as fundraisers, you do occasionally get people who feel that and who feel that you might be pushing. But it's just about apologising that if it's a difficult time, being human, understanding, and not giving up on the relationship still. I think just because you get a no, or someone might be having a difficult time or a bad day, that relationship is still really important. So keep in there, keep connecting with people.
Teisha, Kim, have you got some reflections on that to share as well?
Absolutely. I think it's really important just to show gratitude and to stay connected and be authentic and genuine. Don't ever be pushy. No matter what the time is in the environment, we should, as fundraisers, not be pushy. It's all in the words that we use. So we need to use words like, would you consider? If you were able to help, does this resonate with you? One of the boards that I'm on, we've decided that every time somebody joins as a member or makes a donation, that list will be distributed to the board, and we're to make personal phone calls saying, thank you for joining as a member. Why did you join? What about us do you like? What can we do for you? Why did you make that donation? What are you hoping to do with that donation? And with another organization I'm working with at the moment, I think we as fundraisers, or we find our boards and executives are more afraid to ask than we are. Because they're like, oh, no, we can't insult anyone. We can't put pressure on. But we don't know what our donors want, so ask. So pick up the phone, say, here's what we're experiencing. We've decided to go ahead with this appeal, and here's why. Don't feel pressured to give, but if you were able to, and most people, at least in my experience in the last couple of months, are saying, well, gee, thanks so much. That's really good. No, I will be able to give something, but probably not for a couple of months. Perfect. That's fine. What about you, Tish?
I agree with you, Kim. I would add to that, listen to people. Like Belinda said, treat people like people. When you make the call, ask them how they are, how they're tracking, and listen and react accordingly. If someone's telling you they're having an extremely difficult time and that they're coping with illness or with losing a job or with homeschooling, then, listen to them and be human and respond to them appropriately. asks can be passive, as Kim's saying. They can be soft and gentle, and we can do that right now. I don't see there's any problem with that at all. Also worth remembering, and what I'm reminding a lot of my clients who are in this position of being afraid to ask, is that there's a lot of people actually doing really well right now. I mean, if I had shares in sorbent toilet paper, you could come to me. I mean, come on. There's some people who are actually doing really well for themselves right now. And there's also a lot of people who have had a very successful 9 months leading up to this, who are coming to end of financial year, who will be looking to make tax deductible donations. And so making assumptions about where people are at is what will get us into trouble. Talking to them and listening carefully to their responses will mean that we're able to appropriately ask people at the right time for the right amount.
Beautiful, beautiful points there. I'm hoping that everyone in our virtual audience right now, it's funny not being able to see anybody, isn't it, really? But maybe drop us a note in the chat box. Are these examples of scripts, are these tips being helpful for you with these questions right now? We'd love to know. Lisa has asked of the campaign, back to the Swinburne campaign there, Belinda, was there a major lead gift in that campaign?
There have been a few. The historic funds coming across from Beckton Family Trust and also from the Pratt Family Foundation were the most significant that came across, and they were both over $100,000. So in terms of, there's not been $1 million gifts or things, and I think that goes back to passion and purpose and alignment. And I suspect that supporting students through this time is something that people will do because they understand the need. But I think it's not tapping into people's absolute passions, which might be around a particular area of research in the environment or particular areas of health. So nor would we expect there to be very, very significant gifts. The other gifts that have been really wonderful have been one of our donors, Russell Scrimshaw, and they're all happy to be acknowledged, has given a very significant gift. And a new donor, the Asian Australian Foundation, has made a really wonderful gift into Swinburne, and they are first-time donors for us. And they were just incredibly concerned about the plight of international students. So that's been terrific too.
Fantastic, excellent. I'm going to jump into just having a quick look there. We'll jump into Martin's question about new donors in a second. Actually, no, we'll look at new donors now, because we're going to talk next about team and engaging the team being virtual and working remote. Martin has asked this, and where did you source the new donors from? The stats you had there were 158 new donors. Can you speak to those new donors, please, Belinda?
Yeah, a lot of them were through direct mail out to alumni. And so I think I mentioned that we repurposed we focused our annual appeal for the year on the Student Emergency Fund. So hard copies went to existing donors, but we also emailed out to our alumni because that's a cost-effective way of reaching out. So a lot of those were new donors who'd come in through that direct mail appeal. And others were people who have started to engage around Swinburne through our events and through other sorts of activities in perhaps the last 18 months or so, and who had not given previously, but who we thought, these people are engaged and connected with us, let's call out and let's call and reach out to them. And that was actually really effective. So in that way, and I've been in this role, been with Swinburne almost 2 years now, but in this role only for the last 6 months. So for me as the leader of that team now, these are people who I've brought into the organisation with me, and I have a very strong sense that now, even if they've made quite small gifts at this time, they are now with us for the future, providing that we keep them engaged and cared for and help them find meaning in what they're doing with Swinburne.
Great, fantastic, excellent. We've got some more questions there that we're going to ask shortly, but I do want to step into that area around team and working remotely. And I also then want to recognise that not everyone is Swinburne, and that we have a lot of organisations here that might be one-man show, one-woman show, remote and rural and regionally based. And sometimes it can be overwhelming having such case studies. We had Beyond Blue the other day, and we're very mindful of that as well. So it's really not the size of the organisation, but what we can hear and what we can take back into our organisations, regardless of the size that we are. But for organisations that are working, I guess, as a team, and that might be not necessarily a fundraising team, but other parts of an organisation working together in these goal areas, can you tell us over the last 8 weeks, working remotely as a team, what's worked and what hasn't worked in terms of working on that united goal?
Yeah. Gosh, a lot of communicating. I'm sure we're all just about zoomed to death. A lot of communicating, and so this needs us to work across lots of areas of the university, and it's about recognising that everyone in the team is facing their own challenges right now, and not putting too much pressure on. That we've either got kids at home, or we're feeling vulnerable, and we've got different working conditions, different internet connections, and just trying to be very, very understanding of where people are at. And I've been very, very explicit as a leader to say, I do not expect you to be sitting at your computer from 9 to 5. I'd be disappointed if you were. Go out, enjoy the sunshine, walk, get fresh air. And there's been a lot of checking in with the team, just as there is with our donors, and just, again, treating people as people, and treating people with respect, and understanding that the work will fit in around that. That's been the first and foremost thing to do. I've found that sometimes emails have been more difficult, because I think that people are the brains are functioning in a different way at the moment. So a lot of conversations have been needed to get us all on the same, keep us all on the same page. But the team's been really wonderful, and most of us who work in philanthropy, we're people, and so being stuck at home is really challenging for us. And we've actually really all enjoyed the opportunity of ringing and connecting with donors, and having that really lovely relationships and contact and connection with people. So for the team, it's actually been a real buzz. And the other thing that we've done too is really ring and thank all of the donors that have come in, and asked our executive team to pitch in on that as well. So it's actually been a buzz for us in terms of that human connection. But it is challenging coordinating across reporting and data, gift processing. There's no one in the office to pick up hard gifts, so we've had to sort of make sure we've got online giving systems up to speed. A lot of things we've had to and been able to push forward in a way that we've not had to previously, or we've not been able to previously in a big institution. So the way people have come together has really been quite stunning, I have to say, and just makes me feel very, very proud of our organisation and its culture and its willingness to pitch in and get things done.
Fantastic. Excellent. Teisha, just want to pick up on this notion. We don't know exactly, we're starting to come out of lockdown a little bit, but we really don't know what's on the horizon, the next 6-12 months. And in terms of rallying and keeping teams together and uniting around, goals and new campaigns, what do you think are going to be some of the magic ingredients, to hold teams together and stay focused and energised?
I certainly think there's a few things that organisations can be doing to keep the teams focused. It's very similar to what Belinda was saying about donor stewardship. Treat people as people. Our teams are vulnerable now too. I have been in meetings where they are started with a check-in around the table, not about work and what you're doing, but how are you going this week, right this moment? How do you feel? Are you overwhelmed? Are you exhausted? Are you excited? Check in right now. Do you want to return back to the office, or are you enjoying working from home? These sorts of things. Ask the questions. People touching base regularly. Of course, this can go the other way. Like, we can all get zoomed out, but touching base regularly and allowing 5 minutes at the start of the meeting to do that, connect with people. Celebrate success. It's really easy right now to get that big donation in, and even if it's a small, big donation, but big for now, you know, celebrate the success. Congratulate people on the work that they're doing. Share the stories with the whole team. Don't let, you know, that $5,000 donation just be put into the background as nothing. It's hard work right now to secure those gifts, and people should be recognised for that work. Reassess your strategy and goals. If you're in an environment where your board and executive have instructed you not to ask, then take that time to give the team other meaningful work. And even if it is fundraising, people need meaningful work where they can see themselves achieving something and understand how it contributes to the wider vision of the organisation. People right now don't need to be, you know, effectively stuffing envelopes. They need to be doing work that they feel is worthwhile, because sitting in front of your computer, whether it's for a couple of hours a day or from 9 till 5, is hard work enough on your own when you're used to working in a team environment. So if people feel like what they're doing is contributing, that will make it much better. And finally, using Belinda's words again, thank, and thank. Your team. It's hard, you know. I'm working from home with 2 kids and have been homeschooling, and it's really hard work. And to do that and still be contributing and achieving some sort of success, whether it's fundraising, income, or anything else, thank people for still prioritising their work in their very hectic lives right now.
Beautiful. Excellent. Thank you. Belinda, I just want to touch on, I guess, looking forward now for Swinburne. Where do you see the opportunity for further investment in fundraising, or, you know, what comes next for Swinburne from your perspective?
Yeah, and we still must make sure we touch on that point around size of teams as well too, Julia. I'm very mindful of that. But look, I don't think any of us are going to be in a position to ask for more funding for anything from our institutions. I think that's the reality. One of the things that Swinburne's been superb at is letting us know just where we're at in terms of budget, communicating every week, so we are all very, very clear of the position that we're in. So for us, it's about continuing to be creative. And I've come from those small teams and I've been those small teams. So I'm quite comfortable in that space of thinking about playing to your strengths, maintaining really strong relationships, putting effort in where it's going to deliver the best return, rather than thinking around where can investment be. And it's, you know, big organisations are not necessarily utopia. I think that there's a lot of stuff that's still really challenging in big organisations, and you still might not have all the investment that you need around your database or your gift processing. It's hard to make changes. It's hard, that sort of thing can be challenging in a big organisation. Even for us to prioritise how do we get the marketing team to make the changes that we need to the website when the students' messaging is so critical right now, and they are really stretched and under-resourced too. So there's a lot that's quite challenging still, and there's a lot of investment that we know we would love to have to be able to work in a way that's best practice. You know, we still don't feel that we can reach out to our donors as much as we'd like. We'd still love to have more time and resources, but we've got what we got, and we make it work. And we, like all of us, we are creative, we are inventive, we think about what's meaningful, we think about very hard always, how do you get the best results with any dollar that you might spend on fundraising. I am very mindful, and all of my team is very mindful that we work on taxpayers' money. You know, you and I and all of us in this chat contribute our taxes to organisations like many that we work for. So anything that we're going to do needs to work. It needs to deliver results. It needs to be inventive, creative, as cost effective as it absolutely can be.
I think those points are quite relevant for our last point that I'd like all three of you to comment on. We have a lot of organisations here today and that will be watching this recording afterwards that are small organisations, you know, maybe only an executive officer and 1 or 2 other staff. And I'm really mindful, and it's one of the big parts of why we built the X Factor Collective, was that we could you know, really connect with that audience who often miss out on support and advice, often miss out on being able to pick up the phone to a consultant and get that tailored advice. Can I get you all three of you just to give your final bits of your pearls of wisdom and your little gems in the area of philanthropy and fundraising at this time? What would be your advice for people of small organisations listening in?
I guess I'll jump in first. One of the questions that I like to ask organizations is, do you want fundraising or do you want philanthropy? Because fundraising is transactional, philanthropy is a relationship. So I think right now is a really good time to focus on philanthropy if you're not already doing that.
Beautiful.
And just stewardship is so important. I mean, when you receive a donation, that's just step one in the relationship. So it's keeping that donor on the journey with you. And just as a side note, if I can, while Belinda was talking, I was sitting here listening, and I have a calendar on my desk, you know, those calendars that you flip the day over and there's a quote. So here's today's quote, and you tell me how spooky this is. No duty is more urgent than that of returning thanks.
Beautiful.
Nice. That's beautiful. Teish, what are your thoughts?
I would add to Kim's comments. You know, what I've been listening to from Belinda really resonates with me. I love how at Swinburne they took the opportunity, regardless of the size of the team, any team can do this, whether it's one person or 50. They looked inwardly for a moment and they said, who are our community with us right now? Who is standing with us and how can we engage them? So they started with the closest people, their staff, the executive, the council, and their closest supporters, and they kept it small to start with. You know, how can we engage those people to create that culture or continue to build that culture of philanthropy within the organisation? They didn't put out a massive international campaign. They started with that. It spreads to alumni as their next group. But in a small organisation, it might be that the one person goes to its board and the board go to their closest peers. It might be that you go to your top 5 or top 10 donors and talk to them. It might be that you go to your volunteers or ambassadors. It could be anyone, but those people who are closest to you. So many organisations could benefit from taking their big worldwide approach back into that small knit community and start there. Those people love you, they want to support you, and they don't want to see you fail. And certainly if they can't give big, they'll certainly want to be able to give enough to see you make it through this difficult time.
Beautiful. Belinda, final word with you, lovey.
Yeah, I'd agree with all of that. But I think if I reflected on if it was just me, what would I be doing if I was one person there? And I would try all of that. I would try going to your council, your board, and ask them to contribute, talk to their friends, email your supporter base, anyone whose contact details you have, to let them know how you're going and let them know where you need money. If the beneficiaries or the people you support are struggling right now, as I suspect they are, let your community know and just provide a link for giving. And I would personally be putting my time into actually calling anyone. And this is what I do. I go out for a walk. I escape the homeschool, and I go out for a walk with my phone and my headphones on, and I call our donors while I'm out and about chatting, and just talk to them about where we're up to and ask if they might think about contributing. And you will be pleasantly surprised. You'll be pleasantly surprised that it's actually a really, really enjoyable experience when you don't have a lot of contact with the outside world at the moment, but you're getting to connect with people. You're learning about how COVID's affecting them, their family, their business, their part of the world. It's interesting and an enjoyable thing to do. And people will be with you for the future. So don't worry if you don't have a huge budget and endless resources. Start with one person at a time, as Teisha was saying, and move from there.
Thank you, ladies, so much. Some wonderful, wonderful words of advice and tips there for people to take away. I'm going to just share what I can see here with the live poll with you all as well. So that should come up on your screen if you are here with us today. If you're watching the recording, sorry, you won't be able to see that, but we will share this through our column with Pro Bono Australia as well. Can you see that coming up there now? Hopefully you can. So we've got some other questions there to answer as well. We're going to be talking about end of financial year campaigns shortly. We're going to be talking about what if my cause area has got nothing to do with COVID-19, which might pick up on a couple of points and questions that we've got in the Q&A box. And we're also looking at capital campaigns. So that was a question we had come through from people, was we're planning to launch a capital campaign, or we've been planning to do something like that. Do we push forward? What do we do? That's coming up shortly. Can you all please help me with a virtual round of applause for the wonderful Belinda Collins. Belinda, thank you so much for being here today and putting it into, I know, a very hectic schedule that you have at the moment, and for preparing those slides as well, pulling all that data together for us so quickly so we can get that out there and share and hopefully really inspire people to get in there, lean in and be excited about the possibilities. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to join me. And I can have, if people ever want to reach out, we're happy to help out in any way we can. If you know, universities have a role to play in the community, if there's anything we can do to support friends and colleagues out there, we're very happy to do so.
Great, thank you. And if you'd like to just pop in the chat box, what's one thing from the last half an hour that we've been talking about that you're going to take away today or this week and actually put into your organisation? There's so many gems there. I think I'm up to about 22 different pearls of wisdom. Belinda, I'm just going to stop your video, lovey, but you can stay and listen to the rest of the show. Look forward to catching up with you again soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm just going to mute you as well over there. So just one moment while I mute. There we go. Great. Excellent. Thanks, Teisha. Thanks, Kim, for some of the observations that you shared there just off the cuff. They were absolutely brilliant. Before we keep going, I'm just going to show you a couple of things. So you can get to know us a little bit more and the community that we're building here, so you know that you can come and connect with us at any time. The X Factor Collective, all of our subject matter specialists have to have a minimum of 7 years experience, but as you can see here today with Kim with 30 years experience, it's the average is around 15 years experience in their area of discipline. So we cover the full gamut from anything to do with IT, HR, finance, obviously fundraising, marketing, the full spectrum. And we've got about 55 different small businesses and consultants in the collective at the moment. They all get to work together on projects, which is amazing to see, but we're also able to help you whenever you've got a challenge or an opportunity in your organisation and you need to connect in with some external support. That's one of the reasons why we put the collective together as well, so that you can at any time come and reach out for that support. And I'm just going to show you how you can, the two different ways that you can do that, so you know into the future. We're not going anywhere. We plan to be here for a very long time. We've set up a Sector First concierge help desk service. So this is where you can make an inquiry on anything that you need, and then we can help you. You can also speak with our concierge managers. So we have some consultation time available to you there as well, some paid services where we can talk through some of the solutions available from our specialists in the collective. We are growing out to about 100 different businesses and specialists over the next 12 months as well. So a growing number of not just consultants, but solutions. So we can talk solutions with you and what we're seeing as available to you. The other thing that we've built as well is our own platform to actually help you. If you just want to come on and search on our platform, we've got a beautiful platform that we're really proud of, and you can actually jump in there. You can see some of the different filters there that you can search through to actually really refine it down to what it is that you're looking for, and we're always here to help. So I'm just going to move next into a couple of our final areas of discussion, and I'm just going to check our Q&A box there as well. We've got some great conversations here today. Okay, sorry Martin, I missed the question with Belinda about the ways that she's reached out to trusts and foundations. I'm sure we might need to do another whole session after today to get through more of these types of questions that you're presenting us. So thank you. Let's jump into capital campaigns just quickly here now. Teisha and Kim, What's your advice for organisations at the moment who have either been in a planning phase or have just sort of kicked off a capital campaign? Should they be pushing forward? What should organisations be doing at this time?
Sure. Should you be pushing forward? My answer is a definite maybe. Helpful, isn't it? Look, this is a question that we get regardless of pandemics. Are we really ready to launch our campaign? Or we've started to launch it and we're not really sure we're ready with what we've learned in the first few weeks. There is no one-size-fits-all answer for this question, but in many cases, this question should always, well, in every case, this question should be asked before a launch regardless. Ask yourself, have we got the strategy that will work in the current environment? If you don't, take a step back, refine it, and come back again. Is your leadership committed to the cause and the campaign right now, or is their focus taken up with other things? If their focus is somewhere else and they are not committed, and that doesn't mean they're not here committed, but in time and resource, are they committed to supporting the campaign? If not, take a step back. Have we resourced the strategy appropriately? Do we still have all those resources available to us that we had before? Do we have the people, the finance, the collateral, all those things set up? Do we still have the prospects identified that we had before? Are the people who we thought would give our leadership gifts still in the position to do so? Is our messaging right? We talked about this earlier. Do we need to tweak it? What position are we at? Are we directly affected? Are we indirectly affected? Or are we separate to the COVID-19 discussion? Take another look at that and understand what your position is. I'm working with a medical research institute right now who doesn't have a focus in vaccines or the particular areas of supporting people with COVID-19, but they do fantastic mental health research. So their mid-year appeal will be on mental health following social isolation. And how do we understand the challenges that people are having, and how do we support them with the systems and make sure the systems are in place? So people, can you give to that? Take a minute, stop, breathe, look at your full campaign strategy and reassess if the campaign is vital to your success right now. You know, is it still the top priority for your organisation, or will it be much more successful if you wait 6 months, 12 months, however long? Are you really ready? You've got to answer all those questions and probably a lot more. Kim?
Tesh brilliantly said. The only thing to maybe add to that is it depends what stage you're at in your capital campaign. Capital campaigns are a completely different fundraising effort to anything else and require a lot of time, energy, and commitment from your organization and your leaders and your volunteers. So it's at looking at what stage you're at. If you're just considering a capital campaign, well, you've got a long planning process to go through. So why not? You probably could start it looking at the current situation and how you fit, your project fits into that post COVID-19. If you've done your planning and you're about to launch into your leadership gifts phase, well, like Tish said, maybe let's look at it. Let's answer all those questions. But a capital campaign is a completely different beast on its own. So, you know, in the best of times, they're difficult.
Great, excellent. Thank you for the tips and advice there. Let's talk about end of financial year and annual campaigns. And you've touched on it at different points throughout the last hour as well, which has been great. I know specifically, coming back to Colleen's question, where Colleen works in a religious organisation where the parishes are closed and the board's decided to dull down the annual campaign. She says, is this a bad idea, and how can we still ask at this time? Can I get you both to talk about annual campaigns and end of financial year asks? What can organisations, or what should organisations be doing at this time?
Well, firstly, if you're not asking, you're not going to receive. That's the first thing to consider. And the second question to answer would be, well, what were you asking for? What was your annual campaign for? And should you relook and rethink that so that it's a bit more relevant to what's happening in the environment now? Now, for church parishes, yes, we're not able to go to service, but most parishes are still offering services online. Has that had a cost associated to it? What's it going to be like after this? So you just need to do a little bit of strategic, creative thinking because your supporters want to support you. They want you to survive the other side of this. So it's about just that messaging. Think about the messaging. I don't think you should not ask. I think you need to be out there asking. Again, it's how you ask and the wording of it. I received an annual campaign it started out by saying, this is a crazy time for all of us. And we're all experiencing this. And we're very sensitive to the needs of the community. But we've decided to go ahead with our annual campaign. And if you're able to support us, we would be forever grateful. And here's what it's for. So it's just like we've been saying all morning, be real. Be a person. Don't be an organization with a mission. Be real.
Yeah, beautiful. And this might actually be helping. There's an anonymous question there, which someone has asked, how do we communicate need without making our organization look like a sinking ship? Yeah. So the things that you're talking about here and the script as well that you're suggesting, and I think possibly some scripts as resources and tools might be helpful right now for organizations. Drop a note in the chat box if you think some scripts might be helpful and some examples might be helpful on how people are wording things. We can definitely try and organize some scripts and examples to share. Tish, what's your thoughts and advice in this area right now?
Yes, please ask. Continue to ask. If I'm being too subtle, you should ask. As Kim said, it needs to be tailored. It needs to be respectful. You need to ask with sensitivity, ask with conviction. You know, your mission and your vision is still important and it still needs to be achieved for us to live in a better world. So ask for your greatest need right now that people can understand and connect to. You know, I think it can be done very passively if you're more comfortable with that. A great example I've seen lately is the St Kilda Mums, a fantastic community organisation, put up a social media post where the CEO talked about a generous donation of $2,000. So a young mother who was on maternity leave and was made redundant from her position with a 7-month-old baby made this donation. So she didn't want to sit and wallow. She wanted to make a difference because what her first thought was, imagine someone who's not in my position having this right now. Now, they shared this donation story online and they've had well over 150,000 views at this point. They've had hundreds of comments of support, job offers, recruiters wanting to meet the mum. It shows a great connection of their community, but it's also resulted in other people saying, I too would like to support parents who find themselves in this position. And it shows an amazing community coming together to give. Now, the little video it's a minute or two long. It's not long, but it does end in, if you'd like to come together with us and support what we do, please donate, and with a link to donate. Now, it's a simple story. It's soft and passive. It's very, easy for people to connect with. And I think that your end of financial year appeals can absolutely do the same.
Great advice. Fantastic.
On that, Julia, the ask. I couldn't agree more. But I guess a question for us as fundraisers is, why do we feel the need to apologize all the time for asking?
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's a very good point. And if anyone has any reflections on that, please pop them in our chat box. A couple of people have said scripts and templates would be very helpful. Yeah, absolutely. We'll have a talk about that after the show today and see what might be possible. Also with our partners at Fundraising Institute Australia, these are the things that we can feed back to them and see what might be possible in sharing some extra resources in this area. we've got a question here. I'm going to jump into a question a couple of people have picked up on, and it's around people not having donor bases and people being quite small, starting fresh. So before I do, just so you all know, in the chat box there is also thank you to Jack from in our tech support team, who's putting some links in the chat box there. If you want to be able to get in touch with our lovely specialists here today, and some of you might want to follow up a conversation with them, I'm just going to quickly show you this. So everyone has their own profile page on the X Factor Collective, and the links are there in the chat box. Thanks, Jack, for putting them in there. But you can jump in and actually have a little bit more read about our lovely specialists. We get them all to share their philosophy. They talk about their specializations and service areas. So if you're not sure if it's relevant for the organisation that you're running, you can jump in there and have a look. Also, all of our specialists in the collective put together some really great solutions as packaged services. And this is what we were talking about before. So you might feel overwhelmed that it's going to cost you thousands and thousands of dollars to get help. Sometimes some of these solutions are really, really cost effective. So feel free to jump in there and have a look at our specialists. We are a community unlike any other community in Australia, and you might be getting that feeling from being part of this show and being part of our other shows. But there you can see Teisha's profile and all about the wonderful Teisha Archer as well. But let's jump into, we've got about another 5 minutes to go, and it's definitely a question that's come through here, and I'm sure affects many organisations that might be watching this later as well. So Sue's picked up on it as well. So Sue, what advice would you give to a new charity right now that doesn't have a donor base? But if you can intersect your answer with both of, put it to both of these questions would be great. Kate has said, we don't have a donor base and I don't know how or where to start to find potential donors. We have 300 members in the program. I'm not sure what program you're running, Kate. Feel free to clarify some extra information in the chat box for us. The program is free to join. Is this a place to source money from when it has never been an expectation to pay? And what about finding bigger donors, such as the $10,000 donors? Who would like to kick off with some answers there for Kate and Sue?
I have a client in WA who have a member base. The members don't have to pay. They provide programs to the underprivileged, so they're really not a donor base either. And they have people that do third-party fundraising for them. So they're really not collecting anyone's data as to build a fundraising base. However, they've decided they want to go into a $20 million capital campaign with no donor base. So that presents a challenge. So there's things that you can put in place to start to collect that data. They are an organization who has lots of volunteers. So you'd start firstly with the board, secondly with the volunteers, and then that grows to the volunteers' families, because the work that the volunteers do actually changes their lives and is building their skill set. So their parents, their grandparents are loving the organization, watching what it's doing for this volunteer. So you need to just be a little bit, not creative, but think about who are you touching? Who would be compassionate to your organization? Social media has been a fantastic way for small organizations to get their messages out and to start to build that community. I don't know, Teisha, what do you think?
Yeah, I do agree with you, Kim. I'm also working with a small environmental organisation. It's at the moment a 1.5 person team. Their focus, they also have a database of next to nobody. They're fairly new, only been in operation for under a couple of years. For them, their focus is really on identifying through their board who people know. Yep. They're looking at the major gift space because the work they do requires a lot of money. So, they're talking to their board about who do you know, who can you connect us with? They're doing a lot of research, prospect research in the media, online, in other organisations similar to theirs of who's getting to them and considering who might be a link in those cases. They're going to put some focus onto trusts and foundations in the coming months because, as I mentioned, and as the Philanthropy Australia data is suggesting, there is increased support through those channels, and the person who, the CEO in this case, who will be undertaking the fundraising activities is a great grant writer. So, you know, it's a skill set of hers, it's a comfort zone of hers, and she'll do work in that space. I think that social media is really a growing space for data collection, prospecting, and finding new donors. The bushfire campaigns over the summer really showed that people are now not afraid to donate via social media, and when the cause is something that they truly believe in, that they will do so. You know, there's so many people who gave for the first time to the bushfire appeals and Celeste Barber's campaign and these sorts of things via social media, and they gave for the first time ever to a charity by that mechanism. So there are lots of people out there. It's worth spending some time now to do your research as to who the best communities are for you to target and understand where they are, where are they online, and how can you reach them through those channels? Where are they physically, and how can you reach them through those channels? Is there media you can be looking into? Are there opportunities like this with Swinburne coming on here and sharing their story, where you can do the same and get your organisation out there in the public a bit further?
Yeah, fantastic. Kate, hopefully that's helping you. Kate's clarified a little bit more there. Kate, also, if you jump onto our website, and for anyone that's starting out new, we've got a video library of about 100 short videos, all ranging from about 3 minutes to 6 minutes long. And we'll be doing more of these videos where you can actually get in there and actually, you know, focus in on some of the questions that you might have. We might have some answers there as well to help you in this area and grow your stewardship, grow your program. Justine has made a note there saying, as a supplier to a lot of not-for-profits, she's surprised that she's never been approached to donate. Do you advise not-for-profits to ask suppliers? I think I might just give that a thumbs up. Teisha did. But also for anyone that still is listening, that might be something, if you are starting out and you don't have a donor base, but you do have stakeholders, is I guess thinking about that a bit more broadly, because often your suppliers absolutely love what you're doing. So they probably want to get involved a little bit more closely. Colleen has said, thank you very much. Colleen's question was with the parish, with the annual fund, that it was extremely helpful. You're most welcome, Colleen. And again, the video library might have some other resources there. We've got a big section on fundraising and philanthropy in our video library. A pleasure to be able to help you. Hopefully that's helped you, Sue and Kate, with your questions. Kate says she can't thank you all enough. I don't feel quite so overwhelmed or lonely. Well, Kate, you're going to make me cry by saying things like that. That's what we get up for every day to put this all together. It's been a lot of work by a big small team here at the X Factor Collective to put this show together. Jennifer Hunt says, another extremely helpful webinar from X Factor. Thank you so much. You're all very welcome. We are going to start to wrap it up. We've been here for 90 minutes. Sorry to those who only allowed an hour in their calendar. We'll make sure that we put it as 90 minutes so you do have the full time to be here with us today. Martin, sorry we haven't been able to get onto your specific question, but I think some of the content that has been here the last 90 minutes might give you some tips there around acquisition. Kirsty, you've said a note there about giving circles. And I think you're picking up on probably Kim being involved in the Melbourne Women's Fund. That's a whole nother area that we could definitely delve into one day. There is a video, we did some conversation with Ruth Jones on collective giving and giving circles in our video library. So if you want to jump in there, you'll actually find some lovely short videos with Ruth Jones on collective giving. Certainly a topic close to my heart and one that I love. So yes, let's do a program on that, shall we? And Kate, I hope that's been able to, yes, help you. Kirsty, sorry we didn't get to your question about Charity TV Global. I'm just going to check just while we're wrapping up. Kim, Tish, have you come across much with Charity TV Global, and is that a good fundraising vehicle?
I have. If you want to take that offline, we can talk about that offline.
Yeah, right.
You can contact me about it. As a matter of fact, one of the boards I'm on just yesterday, the CEO contacted me and said, "What do you think about this?" So, listen, it's an option, but it does require a lot of work, and it is not something I would say is sustainable. If you're looking to sustain your organization, I'm not sure that's where you want to put your efforts into right now.
Okay, great, fantastic. Well, shoot us through any questions that you have that you specifically want to get some extra advice on, and what we'll get to those questions as much as we can and share them out. Vegas has just said he's been commissioned to be on a TV show for Charity TV Global, Adventure All Stars. So Vegas, we might get you on the show to talk about the Charity TV Global at some stage. I'm just having a quick look through the questions that we've got here. Listen, coming up next on our series of broadcasts is a really great one next Tuesday, which you might know about, but you might not know about. And then we're going into mental health and wellbeing conversation next week. We know that our volunteers and our team members are all on a spectrum of struggling. Everyone is struggling with different parts of their mental health, keeping up with workload, families and things of this nature. We've got two really great subject matter specialists from the collective here on Tuesday. And we're also bringing in Bernie Black from Brave Foundation, which I'm super excited about. And you would have heard Teisha talk about Brave a bit earlier. Brave have built a village, the Brave Village, and they've had a huge, huge increase in demand like everybody else. But they had some really strong tactics in play before COVID hit. And Bernie's going to run us through some of the ways that they're able to identify and support struggling team members across their wide national village. And Adam and Leanne as well have prepared some really great content to share with you on what can you be looking for in terms of identifying in this virtual world if people are struggling. What are the signs? And then when you're getting those signs, what can you be doing and empowering you and your teams to actually respond? So all about mental health and wellbeing on Tuesday, and we'd love to have you there as well. So Angie's just saying, can she receive recordings? Yes, all the recordings are going up onto our website. So if you've registered with us, you'll get emails and alerts about the recordings and upcoming live shows as well. So thank you very much for all the beautiful feedback that's coming in there on the chat box. It's an absolute privilege to be able to be your host and to do this job and to bring to life some of the wonderful people that we have in our community. So again, if you can help me give a big virtual round of applause. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Teisha. Thank you for sharing yourself so freely and also preparing the many hours that go into preparing for time together like this today.
Thank you so much, Julia. And I really look forward to seeing all the people here, seeing all their campaigns out there in the future, whether they're small appeals or massive campaigns. I think there'll be some great success if people just feel brave and courageous right now and jump into it.
Great.
And thank you so much, Julia, for the opportunity. And yeah, my final message would just be stay authentic, just be real.
That's it. Beautiful. Excellent. And thank you for Jackie as tech support in the background there, putting all the comments, all the information into the chat box there. Another 90 minutes well spent. Thank you, Kylie. Beautiful feedback. We really do appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you again next week. And please do let other people know about these shows. They are free for anyone in Australia to access. And we're here to provide the support and advice, encouragement and maybe some inspiration to get through this challenging time. So all the best and have a beautiful day.
Thank you.